Pattern rules. How to find pattern rules. This is our topic for the video. Now we'll consider one input-output table in which we have all these set of inputs for which we have a set of outputs. And we'll figure out what is the pattern rule in this case. Now, when we say pattern rules and how to find pattern rules, we're kind of throwing it open to you. That is, you can find any pattern rule. For example, here you can find patterns for inputs, patterns for outputs, and the patterns for how do you get output from input. That means input to output. So basically in such a question, we are looking for three different patterns, right? So one is the input pattern. So let me write down here input. And the other one will be the output pattern, right? So let me write output on this side. So output patterns and input patterns. For input, can you tell me what is the pattern? You start at, so this is your inputs, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it goes to numbers on and on, let's say 20 at the end. So the input pattern is start at 0, and then what do? You keep on adding 1 each time, right? So say add 1 each time. So that is how you can describe input pattern. How can you describe the output pattern? In output, you start at 1, right? So start at 1 and add how much? 3 minus 1 is how much? Let's figure it out. 3 minus 1 is 3 minus 1 equals to 2. How about 5 minus 3? 5 minus 3 is also 2. What about 7 minus 5? 7 minus 5 is 2. And 9 minus 7 is also 2. So every time we increase the number by 2. So add 2 each time. So that is the output pattern. Now the question is, what pattern do you get from input to output? What is that pattern? How do you get number 5 from 2? How do you get number 9 from 4? That is a big question to be answered. Now I'll teach you how to get that number. So let's look at this output once again. What we found is that you have to increase the number by 2 each time. That means times 2 is important for us. Now let's figure out like this. What is 1 times 2? 1 times 2 is 2, not 3. But how will you get 3? You will get 3 by adding 1 to it. Okay. Let's do the same trick here. What is 2 times 2? 2 times 2 is 4 and plus 1, 5. So you get a number. Let's try it. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1, 7. 4 times 2 is 8 and plus 1, 9. 5 times 2 is 10 and plus 1, 11. And well, plus 2, 9 plus 2, okay, that is also 11. That works. So if I add 2 to 9, I do get 11. So the trick works. What we found is that in such case, we can write output is equal to input times this number 2 plus 1. So that becomes a rule for us, right? So that is our input-output rule for the given numbers. How did we find this rule? Let's look at it once again. So the trick here is, look at the number by which output is increasing. For every increase in input, so input increases by 1, output increases by 2. So it is 2 times, right? Okay. Now, so 2 times is that is how we get this part, input times 2. But when you times input by 2, you don't get the number. So you may have to add or subtract something. What is that something? It is 1 in this case, so we write plus 1. And we try it out with a couple of things and we get our answer. So that is how you figure out the rule. So